and speak to Senator Murkomen and find out what his take is. Good morning, Senator, and thank you for joining us this morning. First of all, your comments, your opening remarks after getting the news that Roselyne Akombe has now resigned from the commission.
Thank you, Michael. I think Dr. Akombe was within her constitutional right to make a decision. She felt that it was safe and good for her, and that there is nothing. I mean, I see so many people sensationalizing her resignation. It's not something that was not expected by the Constitution and the laws. And there is no legal vacuum. Such situations were expected, not just resignation. It would also be someone would have been bankrupt or a situation where someone is indisposed. So all those possibilities were already there in the Constitution. And I think people should just relax and realize that when we say we need to build institutions, that is really what it means, that there must be institutions in the country that can be able to live beyond individuals and must be shaped by individuals who are patriots. I'm only surprised that we found ourselves in a situation where you have a commissioner who her patriotism was divided, citizenship of more than one country, and therefore she has a place to call home. The rest of us who don't have another home, who know that Kenya is our home, must continue working hard to protect our democracy and rule of law.
Right. Now, you call it sensationalizing, Kipchumba Murkomen, but she makes very, very strong or gives very strong reasons as to why she's resigning. Number one, she says that the commission, in her opinion, is not prepared. What's your thoughts on that, on the commission's preparedness?
Well, you know, it is not a judgment of an individual. We are the players. We cannot... You see, let's start from the premise that the Constitution never contemplated a situation where the elections will not be, a fresh election will not be done in 60 days. So let's start from there that an elections must be done within 60 days. Number two, that the Constitution says that election must be done by IEBC. We don't have two IEBCs, we have only one IEBC. If the Commission is not prepared, it is the decision of the Commission. There's a reason why the Commission is called a commission, not an individual commissioner. And the decision of the majority of the commission will make that calling. But even then, even where the commission says they are prepared, the ultimate judge as to whether or not they will hold the free, fair, and credible elections is not themselves. It will be the ultimate decision that the court will say. We have had situations where even the error of the court, even where the court makes a mistake or makes perfect observations, it will be the court to ultimately say, was it fair and free elections or not?
Right. And, well, looking at where we are today, what would you say, first of all, is the way forward? And secondly, does it worry you that from a commissioner, as much as you say it's a commission, yes, but this is an individual, of course, who is privy to information that the public does not have, is an individual who has a lot of, who is working within the commission. When she says the commission is not prepared, shouldn't that be a time for us to pause, even if not stop, pause and ask, why does she say that?
There is no time for us to pause because we know the reason why the commissioner ran away. She gives many, some of the reasons are credible. I mean, if, for example, if someone says, I feared for my life, there is nothing to substitute fear. Fear is fear. If someone feared for life, I mean, really, there is nothing that could have protected that fear. But my greatest concern is that we are creating a very terrible precedent in the Republic of Kenya where you intimidate IEBC commissioners, you intimidate staff, you intimidate everybody and tell them that in my region, my tribe is not going to vote, my political party is not going to vote, you are not allowed to conduct elections in this area. That precedent is dangerous, Michael. Let me tell you why. Because going forward, now something new is being played in the public. If we don't have these elections, we are going to have a problem in the country where we will not have elections at all. Because it will then be in future, nothing stops anyone in 2022, for example, not just the fresh election, even before the first elections, to wait for 3 weeks to elections or 1 month to elections, announce that IEBC not prepared, prepare his own tribe, prepare his own militia, create a place of chaos, and say elections will not be held. Now, I am asking myself, what is the substitute of the Constitution? The Constitution itself says that elections must be held in 60 days. Even if we pause now and say, okay, let's pause, discuss, have debate, dialogue, so that we do what? And yet the elections must be done by 31st of October.
Senator, are you confident that the commission is ready? Because one of the things that Commissioner Akombe mentions as a problem is not the commission per se, but it is a political problem. It's something that needs to be resolved politically.
Well, I am confident that we have a constitution that works. I am confident that that constitution already provides a roadmap on who does what. Even where my confidence, even if I wasn't sure or confident about IEBC, I am not allowed to postulate a situation where they will not do the job, because failure to do that job is actually a failure of a constitutional responsibility, and there is no substitute to it. And if the Constitution really wanted to contemplate, they would have said, if the elections cannot happen in 60 days, then Parliament shall do this or that, or the court shall do this or that. There is a constitutional responsibility on the part of IEBC. What is happening is that there are people who are working in a very well-scripted scheme to occasion a crisis, so that then we have 26, we don't have elections. The day after, we now wake up and realize that because we didn't have elections, we have in a place uncharted waters. I would prefer that we have an election on 26. Even if it doesn't meet the necessary threshold, let one challenge that election in a court of law. Let us go through what Constitution contemplated, than to have a situation where we are saying we will not have elections. So that forever in the country in future, we'll be having a situation where you can't be sure even constitutional timelines and constitutional responsibility will ever be accomplished.
The Supreme Court gave a ruling and they said that the elections must be held within 60 days. However, there is a condition that they must be as per the Constitution and as per the law. Are you saying that we would rather have the elections on the 26th, regardless of the fact that they may not meet that legal and constitutional threshold? You've just said that regardless of the fact they may not meet that threshold. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that whether or not they will meet the constitutional and legal threshold, it will only be established after the fact. You cannot postulate now or imagine that the elections will not meet the Constitution or the act, the law as it is. Let us do the elections. Let's do the auditing. The court gave an insurance that if it doesn't meet the Constitution, the law, they would rather, now they are the ones who will order to say repeat the elections, which is allowed by the Constitution.
But surely, Senator.
Michael,
yeah.
Let me just say this. For me, as a citizen and as a participant in elections, to be the one who will be saying the election does not meet the threshold, let's not have it. So that then, which dates will I be setting? The only person who should be able to say that is the court, and even when we don't agree, like we did not agree last time, we have no choice but to follow because the Constitution contemplated that. But if we are going to sit down as citizens ourselves and say, oh, the elections of 26 will not meet the constitutional threshold, let us postpone it to a date that we are not provided for in the Constitution, yet there are institutions that have a responsibility to judge and audit whether the elections meet the constitutional threshold, that really will be shooting ourselves in the foot.
All right, Senator, what's your message to Kenyans right now as we continue with this political rhetoric that's going on? Some saying there's no elections on the 26th, others insisting there's the election on the 26th. Mwananchi is the one who's suffering. Business is at a standstill. The economy is crippled. What is your message to the country right now?
My first message is to tell Kenyans that don't box yourself to political competition to the extent that you are engaged in violence. The thing that every Kenyan must understand is that there is no violence that will benefit common Mwananchi. It only leads to the death of a person, of a common Mwananchi. Remember, even as we speak, we are in communication as politicians from both sides of the political divide. Our children go to the same school, we eat from the same places, we joke together, we stay together. Citizens of this republic must realize that even as we grapple with legal and constitutional issues, they must keep in mind that violence cannot, it doesn't harm the rich, it doesn't harm the politicians, It doesn't harm those who are in office. It harms the common mwananchi who is being misused to assist a politician to ascend to power. Number two is that there is no condition that is permanent. Solutions will always be found. It is better than when that solution will be found, Kenyans themselves, especially the common mwananchi, will be living in peace and unity as we find that solution. We can have divergent views, but no life is worth being sacrificed for any man to ascend to political office.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, one of the things that Roselyne cites as her reasons for not being in the country is her security and her life being under threat. Are you satisfied that the state has provided enough security for the commissioners to be able to do their work without interference?
Well, to the best of my knowledge and observation, the commissioners have always assured the public that the elections, Commissioner Akombe, not more than 2 days ago, assured the public that the elections is going to be free and fair. She also assured the country that they are well prepared and that they are safe. So I don't know which Akombe to believe, the one who is in New York or the one who was in Kenya. And every security situation is personal to every individual, and it must be assessed at any given time. And I think the Inspector General of the Police has a duty to protect those people. If they want more security, I would say they should be added more security, because when the people are threatening also presiding officers, returning officers, if more security needs to be increased, I believe that it will be right to increase the security of those persons. But overall, our security as a country has improved. What I find very dangerous, though, is unfortunately that Commissioner Akombe, out of deceit, really cheated the public that she was going to see printing of ballot papers, she was ready for the election, and so forth. You know, the reason why there are men and women, gallant men and women, who fought for independence of this country is because they were courageous enough to stand in the gap. And I think it's unfortunate when one runs away from that responsibility. But going forward, we must protect ourselves against appointing persons who have dual citizenship, because we need people who are ready to live and fight for the good of this country.
All right. Finally, before we let you go, Senator, your statement, and let us know if it's your personal opinion or Jubilee stance. On the 26th, are we ready for the election?
We in the Jubilee, and this is the Jubilee position, we believe that we are the players. We have been ready for the elections of 26. We believe also in the rule of law. We disagree with the decision of the Supreme Court on 1st of September, but we will obey it. And that decision says that we must have the elections as per the Constitution. And therefore, we are ready to prepare for the elections. We have no choice, actually. It's not whether or not we are ready. It's about whether or not we will obey the Constitution.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, for joining us this morning and just letting us know his thoughts regarding the Commissioner Akombe's resignation, which we received earlier on this morning.